Greetings adventurers and welcome to the Loot Goblin Marketplace. Today's treasure goes by the name of When That Guy is a Horny Horse Girl. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video and let's jump right into it. This is the story of how my friend's first time GMing was almost ruined by a horny horse girl and how we somehow came out of the other side, the better for it. Caution warning for discussions of sex, pregnancy, substance abuse, uncomfortable shades of bestiality, and glorification of SA. Also apologies for how long this thing is. The backstory. I have a core group of friends who all play tabletop together. We're heavy RPers, so we like to take already simple systems and tweak them to fit the setting we have in mind to allow for more RP. The one we use the most, and the one we used for this campaign, is a D6 system, very roughly based on the Burning Wheel. My friend, we'll call her GM, had never run a game before, but she's a great world builder and a voice actor. She had an idea for a Song of Ice and Fire campaign set in the settings past, for which she intricately crafted homebrew houses and adopted canon houses that existed as just names, whose fates we, the players, could decide. We loved this idea and signed right up. She gave us all sheets with the classes, backgrounds, houses, and worked with us to build characters. Our party ended up being me, a mercenary with a red priest background. I don't know A Song of Ice and Fire that well, so I figured having a character from ASOIAF was a good excuse for not knowing Westeros lore. I was going through a hard time back then, so I gave him an unnecessarily angsty, tragic backstory. I was also in character and out of character the only guy in the group. You all can probably see where this is going already. My longtime friend and mutual friend of Game Master, playing a politically savvy noblewoman whose evil, abusive uncle is one of the main NPCs. Her primary motivation is to destroy him. We'll call her Padme, a rough and tumble Iron Islander raider who is sort of a barbarian mom of the party, not to mention a full head taller. We'll call her Chewie. Chewie is GM's long-term friend, and even though she's no longer on speaking terms with Horse Girl, decided to give the game a try anyways. And now the problem player, Horse Girl, who deserves her own paragraph but does not deserve a Star Wars codename. Horse Girl was a GM and Chewie's friend from back in high school. After high school, she dropped Chewie as a friend because I'm more mature than you, we're in different places in our lives. AKA Horse Girl moved out too young and ended up in financial straits and resented her friends who did not move out because they were being fiscally responsible. She remained friends with Game Master, but as the campaign went on, we all realized this was more of a parasitical relationship than a friendship. She was one of those OMG I love D&D people who likes the idea of D&D but never played a serious game of it. Her former D&D tabletop experience involved her and a bunch of slapstick murder hobos bullying Strahd. Yes, they ran Curse of Strahd as a joke campaign. Needless to say, even if she wasn't a problem player, this was not a good fit. Horse Girl talks GM into letting her play as a bastard noble from one of the homebrew houses. This house was designed as a counterpoint to all the A Song of Ice and Fire's general awfulness. They're kind, decent people who treat women more or less fairly, and are a northern house with vaguely Viking mead hall vibes. Horse Girl ignored all of this and decided that they were misogynistic frat bros. Their main economy is breeding war horses, which Horse Girl latched onto. She wanted to be a skin changer, which GM had her roll for. Unfortunately for all of us, that role succeeded. She decided, of course, to be able to warg into her horse. If at this point you're looking at the title and muttering, "Oh no," just wait, it gets worse. The beginning. With Session 0 nailed down, we begin Session 1. GM sets the scene with a summit between the four main houses in the plot, who are all arguing over a contested land. Me and Chewie are itching to fight for coin, and Padme is there to gain allies against her uncle. Horse Girl, as far as I know, was there to be the house's eyes and ears about the brewing conflict. The summit goes badly and ends in a declaration of war, because plot, and we are asked to choose our loyalties. While the houses are arguing, we are given the chance to wander around, party banter, talk to NPCs, and gather intel on the houses to decide which one we liked best. Immediately, problems begin. Our party meets one of the recurring NPCs, a traveling merchant we called the Shady Merchant because his wares are shady AF. Horse Girl gets inexplicably obsessed with the fancy dagger he has. Padme begins playing her character as haughty and distant, and the other characters chafe against her a little bit. Out of character, we're all enjoying it because this is RP, and we all know we are not our characters. Horse Girl, on the other hand, loses her mind and ends up drawing a sword because she felt insulted. GM manages to smooth out this kerfuffle without Horse Girl getting into serious in-character trouble for threatening a noble, but it really sets the tone for party interactions from then on. We chose the one Valyrian house to side with because they have dragons, and that seems like a safe bet. We had a few traveling sessions to get to their keep. During travel, Padme really warms up, we have a nice arc about her coming out of her shell, and the party begins to become friends. Horse Girl comes off as naive, sheltered, and innocent, so our characters all kind of adopt her too. She continues to ignore Padme. The A Song of Ice and Fire setting has a lot of violence against women, so me and Chewie have our characters express concern that Horse Girl doesn't seem to be aware of this, and decides to get her a weapon when we get to the keep. When we're almost there, the GM has our party overhear an argument between our new queen and her husband about basically sex and pregnancy. It's an intentionally uncomfortable scene that foreshadows a plot-relevant information about the queen's family and signals that all is not well in the house we choose. At least, all the rest of us had their characters become uncomfortable, not Horse Girl. Horse Girl decides this is the opportunity to become the queen's best friend. She marches up to her and gives her what amounts to be a girl power yes speech. Given that the queen is furious about having another kid, this does not go well. Horse Girl refuses to leave Queen's tent. We have to out-of-characterly persuade her to leave. We get to the keep and go buy Horse Girl her dagger. My character flirts with this handsome blacksmith a bit, which seems to fly right over Horse Girl's head. We give her the dagger and she gleefully names it Oof Dagger. We thought this was a joke in the moment. It was not a joke. She proceeds to call it Oof Dagger from then on. Remember the shady merchant? She tried to buy his dagger every time we encountered him and pouted when she didn't have enough money. She really wanted to dual wield badass daggers, I guess. The next weird thing happens when we meet the queen's family. The queen has several young children. Horse Girl refuses to talk to any of the important NPCs, like the courtiers, advisors, knights, etc., and only wants to talk to the little kids. She insists on doing a whole circus show with her horse for the bairns. GM is incredibly confused, but makes her roll for it. She succeeds and proceeds to narrate out her circus performance in elaborate detail. The whole party's left to wonder, WTF just happened? Little did we know this would be foreshadowing. While at the keep, Padme ends up having an arc where she falls in love with one of the house's knights. They become engaged, which conveniently aligns with Padme's personal and political ambitions. We get our first mission as mercenaries and diplomats, go down to Dorne and recruit the mercenary company that my character belongs to. It's a long trip. We're going to have a lot of travel and random encounter sessions. We pack up and head out. This is where all those red flags begin to become a Red Sea. Trouble brewing. It starts with the skin changing because of course it does. Every night, GM has me roll for my red priest to get a prophecy or not, and for Horse Girl to see if she had a good night's sleep or warged into her horse. Horse Girl becomes obsessed with her horse dreams. She asks damn near everyone she meets about them. She pesters the housemaster about them. She complains dramatically about them at our roadside camp sessions. The horse dreams turn from a clue that she should seek out a skin changer teacher to a defining personality trait that she doesn't want to move on from. She starts treating her horse like royalty, insisting everyone does the same. It's annoying, but whatever. Then we got to combat encounters, and oh boy, as mentioned, Horse Girl previously played her character as sheltered and naive. She soaked up our mercs talking about war with wide-eyed innocence. So it came as a shock to everyone when during the battle, she turned into a violent psychopath. She slaughtered bandits when they're down and laughed like a loon. She tried to intimidate enemies by staring them down and growing threats that felt like anime one-liners and generally thought it would work. At one point, she was pretty sure she insisted we shot a fleeing bandit. It was a bizarre tone shift. At one point, my character got philosophical about how these were real people with their own thoughts and dreams, etc., and she was having none of it. This is where my character's dumb edgy backstory comes into play. Among other points, this poor guy was addicted to the milk of the poppy, which is fantasy opium, because I enjoyed the idea of a drug-addled seer. I'd been tracking it on a calendar so I could RP his withdrawal symptoms, and they got bad at this point. Horse Girl, for some reason, latched onto him and tried to smother him with affection. She didn't seem to care why he was sick, but she would clearly believe she could fix him with the power of friendship. At the same time, she ignored every other member of the party, refusing to give them the most basic time of day. This behavior repeated itself when we met any male NPC who had even the slightest whiff of tragic backstory. She practically latched onto bastard sons. Every time we met a bastard son, she'd pester them for their family story, wax poetic about how us bastards have to stick together, and act like they had a close sibling relationship when they didn't even know each other. It was especially bad if the NPC did not actually have a tragic backstory. She insisted they did and kept pressing while they and the GM bafflingly reiterated that their home life was fine. But an NPC did not need a tragic backstory to earn her smothering affection. No, one recurring NPC in the game is a bard who is not so secretly an info broker. He exists for the sole purpose of spreading rumors and being fun. He's also a pickup artist. Horse Girl took one look at the man and decided she had to have him. He was her knight in shining armor, her beacon, the man she was destined to love. Everyone else thought he was sort of shifty and took a disliking to him. This will be relevant later. The beginning of the end. We finally got to Dorne, and all these plots came to a head. My character finally loses his cool and gets thrown into medieval fantasy rehab by his friends and family. Padme's character reveals she is pregnant. Chewie lives it up as the party's designated Kirk and finds herself a man of the week. A friend of GM's, we will call her Lando because she came in late and was in the game a tragically short time, decides she wants to join in. So we introduce her as a bastard child of one of the noble-born mercs. We met the mercenaries NPCs who are a rowdy, fun, foul-mouthed, melodramatic bunch and start picking ones to join our war campaign. Horse Girl is having none of this. She takes offense to everyone in the party, one by one. First is my character. Up until now, he was basically the only person she wanted to talk to the point where she ignored the rest of the party and monopolized all of my time. It was frustrating because I wanted to interact with everyone else, but I wasn't really allowed to. She smothered him with unwanted, overbearing affection, while also talking down to him and being very judgmental. She insisted on mothering him when he was 4 years her senior. When he calmly told her he didn't want her help, she didn't even seem to care what he was dealing with. She lost her mind. Her character had a meltdown, yelling about how she didn't want him to die, how he was selfish, how he was rejecting her glorious friendship, etc. It shocked him in character and everyone at the table out of character. Eventually her character left to go brood dramatically. She had begun to play her character as an alcoholic and binge drinking brooding cycle was becoming normal for her character. I explained to her that being around her character's equally volatile substance abuse was damaging to my character, and they were never going to be friends because of that, but that out of character we were still cool. Her reaction was basically, what alcohol abuse? The entire thing was triggering for people in the group who dealt with substance abuse in real life, and we started chatting out of character a lot about how uncomfortable we were. GM confirmed this is how she drinks in real life. TLDR on this one, what was supposed to be an uplifting arc for my character of recovery among his friends turned into triggering out of character disaster. Then came Padme's turn. During the session that Horse Girl couldn't make it, and during which she was brooding in character, Padme revealed to the party she was pregnant. Everyone in the party loved Padme. She had this lovely character arc from brittle politician to a warm and friendly head of her soon-to-be household and a pretty damn good spy master. This was the beginning of her character's slow send-off, and we all had a fun time congratulating her. Horse Girl, on the other hand, had spent the whole game ignoring and making it clear she did not like Padme. Despite this, when she came back next session, she had lost her mind again because Padme did not treat her as an instant best friend. She yelled at her in character for not telling her before everyone else, and acted hurt that her friend hadn't told her something she, the player, was not even there for. Chewie miraculously avoided catching the Horse Girl's wrath directly, but I suspect this third meltdown was indirectly directed at her. Chewie's character is a Kirk. She had a guy in half the places our party visits, and she's very casual about hookups. She essentially befriended the mercenaries and shacked up with one of them for the duration of their trip. Horse Girl apparently was jealous or something. She more or less bullies the GM into making the info broker, the pickup artist bard from the previous sessions, be at the end they're staying at. She then has her character hook up with the info broker. She acts from then on as if the info broker is her boyfriend. It got to the point where the GM planned to have the info broker show up at the next tavern with a woman draped on each arm, just to get it into her head that info broker did not care about her. And then poor Lando. Lando just joined in on their game to have fun. Instead, she got the same treatment Horse Girl gives all women in the group, being ignored, having her conversations interrupted and monopolized, and general passive aggressiveness. Lando did her own write-up for this, and the principal takeaways were, Horse Girl did not like that Lando was a bastard with a happy home life who wasn't going to join her in I'm a bastard pity party, and Horse Girl was jealous out of character that Lando joined late and was better friends with the GM than she was. Lando never really got to become close to the group, and it spoiled her fun in the game. And then came the session that broke us. The end. The party was finally heading back to the keep to report on their mission success. Two very uncomfortable things happen. Uncomfortable thing 1. My character is talking to one of the other player characters about whether it's ethical to pursue aforementioned handsome blacksmith, given that A Song of Ice and Fire is not a setting where gay people are accepted. My character is a trained fighter, but the blacksmith isn't, and he's concerned for his safety. Horse Girl finally catches on that he likes men. She goes on a whole rant about how you shouldn't be afraid to express yourself, and it gets better. Like there won't be real consequences for blacksmith if he's outed. It was basically the gender-flipped version of her girl power speech to the queen. Uncomfortable thing 2. The mercenary NPC and RPCs started going back and forth with rowdy jokes and general silliness to pass time on the road. Horse Girl decides she's going to join in on this. She starts making sex jokes about her horse. As we're all processing this, she keeps going, getting on a tangent about how her horse is going to get worked up, run off, and impregnate some mare. She then goes on another tangent about how they'd have to take the resulting colt with them. The table goes silent. She insists it's not a joke. Padme awkwardly tells her that that would be theft, Pretty sure we ended the session right after that. Somehow, this was the straw that broke us. GM had been quietly attempting to get her act together this whole time, each time getting her to half-heartedly promise to fix her character's behavior. We put together a group letter of our concerns and presented it to her, hoping that she'd listen to us. She did not. She went MIA for a few days, after which she posted a long post in our group chat about how she was leaving for mental health reasons. Keeping in mind, the entire time, GM had tried to persuade her to go see a therapist, only be told that she didn't need one. She never addressed anything in our letter, or that we talked about during sessions. She just left. During the post-rage quit analysis, we couldn't figure out if she'd been obsessed with my character because she wanted to date him, or be in some weird surrogate family friendship with him. To this day, we aren't sure. We are sure, however, that for whatever reason, she hated and was jealous of every woman in the game, both in character as characters and out of character as players. Horse Girl's fixation on my character sent my planned arc and characterization for him so off the rails that I had to send him into the front lines and replace him with another character while I redo his entire sheet. That said, our party managed to stick together and continue the game, which is still going strong after 2 years. Instead of a soap opera, it has become the political drama we wanted to be. Horrifying addendum. After this was over, GM dug out Horse Girl's old play-by-post roleplay, fanfiction, and original fiction. When left to her own devices, she apparently does all of this, but way worse. Everyone has horribly traumatizing backstories. She turns all the women in her story into villains. She whoopifies all men, but the worst part? Her original fanfiction turned out to be fantasy erotica. Suspicions of creepiness confirmed, we realized we dodged a real bullet when she dropped out. GM has not spoken or interacted with Horse Girl in any way since she left, and her life is infinitely better for it. And that ends the story. If I were to summarize it into one word, it would simply be yikes. This is definitely an example of if one player seems to find a problem with each player and the GM, it's definitely them. At no point in the story did anyone seem to do anything that would justify having a beef with them. These are people that she claims to be friends with, and honestly, people like this, you just kind of have to cut from the table. One bad player can really drag down a great campaign, and as you see, the moment she's gone, the rest of the team comes together and everything becomes very enjoyable, which at least they have that good ending. One thing that's barely touched upon, and I think might be the crux of this story too, is just the fact that when explained what alcoholism is, her initial reaction is to say, oh yeah, that's basically me. Doesn't really change much about the story or how I treat it, but obviously this is a person that out of character, a lot of things are going on. And if someone has a lot of problems out of character, they're definitely going to translate in character. At least that's what I feel like I've noticed in my personal experiences. I don't know about you guys. Make sure to share your thoughts in the comments. This is definitely a heavier one, so I'm very curious to see what you guys thought of it, and if I should cover more like them in the channel. Thanks for stopping by, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Farewell for now. Community shoutout time. Thank you for Bloodsmith Gamer for supporting the channel. Your contributions mean a lot to me, and I hope to have more members join over time.